Masechet Baba Batra, Daf Kof Non Aleph, Siman Zutra Imed Amra Mitarte Achvata Rav Tuvi V'Rav Dimi V'Rav Yosef. We're going to learn a series of stories that are indicated by this mnemonic. Each of the stories has a ruling, and we're going to learn a lot of laws about giving gifts on the deathbed, retracting such gifts if one gets better. We're going to learn all the details from the rulings in the following stories. So the first item is Zutra. Ime de Rav Zutra bar Tuvia katvinu lenichsa le Rav Zutra bar Tuvia tebaya le insube le Rav Zevid. The mother of Rav Zutra bar Tuvia, she wrote a document saying she wants to give away all of her property to her son, Rav Zutra bar Tuvia. Why was she giving away everything? She was not on her deathbed, but rather because she wanted to get married to Rav Zevid. And she wanted to protect her assets. She did not want Rav Zevid to take them, because then he would be controlling them, and then if they got divorced, then she would have difficulty getting them back. Or if she died, she didn't want him to inherit, she wanted it to stay in her family. So she wanted to protect these assets. So she says she gave it as a gift to her son, Rav Zevid. In Siba v'gersha. So they ended up getting married, and sure enough, they ended up getting divorced. And now she wants to go to her son and get all of her property back. Atia lekamed Rabevai bar Abaye. Amar mishum insube veha in Siba. So she came to Rabevai bar Abaye to adjudicate for her. Apparently the son did not want to give it to her. The son said, "No, Mom, you gave it to me as a gift, and that's it, it's mine." So Rabevai bar Abaye ruled that it stays with the son. Why? Because, why did she give away everything? Because she wanted to get married to Rav Zevid. Well, she got married to Rav Zevid. So the condition was achieved successfully, and therefore all the property remains with the son. Amar le Rav Huna bered Rav Yoshua mishum datu memulae amri tumile mulayata. Another sage, however, Rav Huna, the son of Rav Yoshua, told Rav Bevai, because you come from a line of shortened people, you made a shortened argument. He came from the line of the Kohen Gadol Eli, whose descendants were cursed that they would have short lives. He says, you haven't thought this through all the way. You shortened your own reasoning. And he says, even according to the opinion that says mavrachat, we saw that yesterday, that's someone who shelters her property. That case was talking about someone who doesn't say outright why they're doing it. You see, if someone says outright, I'm giving you, a mother says, I'm giving you, my son or whoever, this property as a gift because I want to shelter it from anyone taking it, and my husband taking it when I get married. If she says it outright, then that works no matter what, whether she gives everything away or part of it away, because she says an outright thing. The case of Mabrachat was when she doesn't say anything. So there is an opinion that says when she doesn't say anything, that's Mavrachat, the receiver of the gift keeps it. Even if she gets divorced, she can keep it. But that opinion, we didn't see the machloket yesterday, but there is such a machloket. But that opinion is only if she didn't say anything. She did not reveal her intention. But if she does reveal her intention, as she did here, she told her son, take this as a gift because I want to marry Rav Zevid. So what does that mean? She shows that she's giving it away because she is getting married and she wants to shelter it precisely if she gets divorced. In other words, the giving it away as the getting married is not a fulfillment of the condition, and therefore it is a gift. It's the reason that prompts her to give it away so that she can get it back if she gets divorced. And here, she was married and she was divorced, and that's the whole point, that she gave it to you so that she can get it back right now. And therefore, she does deserve to get it back. So Rav Huna corrected the ruling of Rabevai. Next story. Imed Rami bar Chama beurta katvinhu lenichsa lerami bar Chama. Besafra ketabtinhu lerab Ukba bar Chama. We have the mother of Rami bar Chama. She was on her deathbed. And so in the evening, she told people to write that I want all my property to go to my son, Rami bar Chama. In the morning, she did it again. And she said, write that I want all my property to go to Rav Ukva bar Chama. Chama, his brother. So in the night she gave it to one son, in the morning she gave it to another son. So what's going on here? Who should really get it? Now she died. So who deserves to take it? Ata Rami bar Chama lekamed Rav Sheshat. The first brother who got it at night came to Rav Sheshat. Ukme benichse, and he gave it to her. I guess he's reasoning that she gave it to you first. If I have a gift and I give it to A first and then to B, and A gets it because that's it. It was a gift to A. I can't gift it to someone else once I gave it away. And therefore, he ruled that Rami should get it. Azal Rav Ukba bar Chama kamed Rav Nachman ukme benichse. The second brother who got it in the morning, he went to adjudication with Rav Nachman. And Rav Nachman says, you get it, right? She's true. She gave it to Rami the night before, but she changed her mind, and now she gave it to you. So you're the second one. And the last gift would be correct because now she changed her mind to give it to you instead. Ata Rav Sheshat lekamed Rav Nachman. So now Rav Sheshat, the first judge, came to Rav Nachman, the second judge. Rav Nachman was an expert judge. He was well known as an expert in these civil and monetary cases. So he would be respected by everybody. And so Rav Sheshat asked him, why did you rule that way? Why did you grant the gift to Rav Ukba, the one who got it in the morning? Is it because you're saying she changed her mind? She took it back. She retracted her gift that she gave at night, but that she can't retract because she died. So we know a rule. When can someone retract? Let's say they get better. So if they gave away the whole thing, and that's what we're talking about here, we're talking about a case where she gave away everything. She didn't keep anything for herself. So then we said, if someone gets better, then they can take everything back for themselves, because why would they give everything away? It was only on condition that they died, and that's why they didn't leave anything for themselves. But if they get better, they can take everything away. But in this case, look, she actually died. She didn't get better. And therefore, we should follow the first gift. That's the initial gift. That's the gift that counts. And she died, so there's no retraction. So the fact that maybe she retracted overnight, she doesn't have a right to retract because she didn't get better. She died. Amar lehachi amar Shemuel. Hachi amar Shemuel. Kol sheilu amad chozer b'matenato. Rav Nachman responded, well, this is what Shemuel ruled. Shemuel gave a ruling and said, anyone that if they would get better, they could retract, they can retract even if they don't get better but didn't die yet. Obviously, after they die, they can't retract. But the point is like this. If it's in a case where they got better, they could retract. That would be a case like this where you gave away everything. So you can say like this. If you gave away everything, if someone on his deathbed gave away everything, so that if they got better, they would be able to recover it, then as long as, even if they didn't get better, but they're still on their deathbed, they can change their mind and retract the gift. And therefore, that's what happened here. The mother was on her deathbed. She gave it to Rami at night. And now, if she died, if she got better at that point, she would have been able to retract it because she gave everything away. So overnight, she says, you know what? I don't want to give it to Rami. And then in the morning, she says, okay, and not Rami, I'm giving it to Rav Ukba. And therefore, that retraction is a valid retraction. So that's a very important rule that Shemuel said. Now, Rav Sheshat asked further, Shemuel, maybe he only made that rule if someone wants to retract for himself. Like we said, if someone gets better, they can say, give me my stuff back, because now I'm feeling better and I need this property to live. So I know that Shemuel said you can take it back for yourself, but who says you can take it back for someone else? And so the same thing here. Although she's still on her deathbed, and you said, okay, if when she got better she can retract now. Fine, that means she can retract now and take it back for herself. But did Shemuel also say that she can not only retract for herself, but actually give it from one person and take it from one person and give it to another? Amar le beferush amar Shemuel ben lasmo ben lacher. And Rav Nachman says, yes, Shemuel actually said that explicitly and said that the person on his deathbed can retract either for himself or even to grant it to someone else. And that's why he granted it to the second brother. Next story. Zerav Amram Chasida. Hava la meloga dishtare. The mother of Rav Amram the pious had a bundle of IOUs that people owed her money. So this bundle of notes is worth a lot of money. Kikashachba Amra. Lever la Amram beni. She's on her deathbed. She says, I want all of these to go to my son Amram. Ate achu lekamed Rav Nachman. Amru le vaha la meshach. So the brothers brothers, they were upset. They wanted to get some of these notes, so they came to Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman, again, is the greatest judge in these matters in that generation. And so they told him, wait, but our brother Amram, he never did an act of acquisition. He did not pick them up. And so by what mechanism did he get them? By none. And therefore we should all split them equally as heirs. Amar lehu divrei shechimera kichtubin v'chimisurin damu. Rav Nachman says, no, you don't get it, because the statement of someone on his deathbed, it's as if they wrote it down and as if it's delivered, and therefore that's the law we've seen many times, that the rabbis did this so that someone on his deathbed wouldn't feel anxiety because he didn't get a chance to put all his affairs in order and make transactions and write everything down properly. And so we said, okay, as long as they said it on the deathbed and we have witnesses that they said it, then that is sufficient. And so therefore, even though the mother only said the statement, Rav Amram gets all of the documents. Next story. Achated Rav Tubi bar Rav Matana katvinu lenichsa Rav Tuvi bar Matana besafra. The sister of Rav Tuvi bar Matana, she was on her deathbed, and she says, I want you to write that all of my property will go to my brother, Rav Tuvi bar Matana. And that happened in the morning. Later on, in the evening, lefanya ata Rav Achdeboy bar Rav Matana bachala. Later on, so the brother of Rav Tuvi, a brother of the sister also, of this woman who's dying, that his name is Rav Achdeboy, also the son of Rav Matana, he came to her and he was crying and begging. Amar la, hashtamri mor surba merabanan, mor lab surba merabanan. If people are going to hear that you gave all of your property to Rav Matana and none to me, then people are going to say, oh, why'd she do that? Oh, must be because Rav Matana is a Torah scholar, and so she wanted to give him lots of money so that he can sit and study. And Rav Avdevoy, oh, he didn't get any money. Oh, that's because he's not a Torah scholar. But it's not true. I am a Torah scholar. He's like, I don't care so much about the money, but about the reputation of what people will say about me. So she's crying about this. Katvinu ketabtinu nihale. So she says, okay, you're right. I changed my mind. And now she wrote a document saying everything will go to him, the second brother, Rav Achtevoy. Atale kamed Rav Nachman. Amar lehachi amar Shemuel. Kol shilamad chozer b'matenato. And so the case came before Rav Nachman, and he said, he quoted what we saw already from Shemuel. Anytime someone, if they got better, they would be able to recover it. And in this case, the sister gave everything away. So therefore, if the sister would got better, she would be able to recover it. Now, she was still sick on her deathbed, but she changed her mind. That's valid. Since she could recover it if she got better, she can also recover it, and now that she's still on her deathbed. And not only can she recover it for herself, she can also transfer it and give it from one brother to give it to a different brother. And therefore, the second brother, Rav Achdeboy, gets the property. Achate de Rav Dimi bar Yosef havala pisteka de pardesa. The sister of Rav Dimi. Next story, a lot about stories about mothers and sisters. She had a tract of land in an orchard, and kol emat dehavat chalsha hava mekniyad le nihale. And every time she was feeling sick, she felt like she was almost dying, she would go and transfer ownership to her brother, Rav Dimi bar Rav Yosef, right? Because she saw, I'm going to die, so she would give it to him. But then she would get better. And so when she got better, then she would retract the gift and take it back for herself. And this would happen many times. So the brother was like sick and tired of this. Zimna chada chalsha shalcha le takene shelach la ba'ena. So one time she felt sick. She was on her deathbed, and she said, "Come and make a transaction to take this piece of an orchard." And he said, "I'm not coming." Right? This is the girl who cried wolf. You did this too many times, and it's such a pain. We have to go. We have to fill out the forms. We have to do all this work. And I know you. You're just going to get better again, right? Just like you did last time. And you're not going to die finally. And then now you're going to get better again. And then you're going to take it back. And so you know what? Forget it. I'm not in the mood. So she sent him again a message and says, come and acquire any way that you want. You choose the manner that you want to, so that you can do it in a way that you won't be able to get it back. Right? This time, I'm really going to give it to you. Azal shi'ereh v'kanu mina. So here's what the rabbi did. Rav Dimi, he knows this halacha. He went and he took 98% of the orchard and he left her a little. Because we know before that if you leave the person a little bit, well, maybe more, maybe enough that she could live on, however much that would be. So he said, I'm leaving you this portion, and that way, even if she gets better, we saw if it's not a total gift, if she keeps enough some for herself, then she cannot retract it. That's number one. Second, they did an act of acquisition too. So it's not just a statement of someone who was on their deathbed. So he has this foolproof transaction. So now he'll be able to keep it. Ki kaima hadra ba. And sure enough, right? Look what happened. She got better again, and she wanted to retract the gift. Atay lekamed Rav Nachman. So she went to Rav Nachman as to be the judge to say, hey, I want my land back. Look, I got better. Shalach le tam. So the Rav Nachman told Rav Dimi, come to the court. La ata. He says, I'm not coming. Amar mai ete. He said the message says, why should I come? Hashire v'kanu mineh. After all, I left out part of the property, and she has it. So therefore, this is a type of gift that even if you get better, you cannot retract. And I made an act of acquisition, whatever they did to acquire it, and so therefore I have no need to come to the court, right? Because I did a foolproof transaction, and now it's mine. I'm keeping it. Shelach le ila tet machina lach besilva de la maba damar. Rav Nachman says to Rav Dimi, you better come. If you don't come, I'm going to strike you with a thorn that does not draw blood. Meaning a thorn that drew blood was better. If you get a thorn, okay, it hurts a little. But what's one that doesn't draw blood? It's not going to be a physical punishment, but rather an excommunication, which can be even worse, total social isolation. So you better come. I'm summoning you to court or else. And so he came to court, and there's witnesses that were there that saw the whole deal go down. And so Rav Nachman asked the witnesses, tell me what happened. First, we heard her say, woe to this woman who is dying, meaning about herself. She started off saying, oh, so bad, I feel so sad that I'm dying. I'm going to give you this gift of the orchard. Amar lehu imken hava mesaveh mechamat mita umsaveh mechamat mita chozer. Rav Nachman says, oh, she said that before she gave the gift? That means she gave this directive only because she was expecting to die. And if you say directly, I'm giving this because I'm expecting to die, then that's like it's on condition, and therefore she can get it back. So we learn a tremendous chidush from this, that which we said earlier that in the Mishnah, that if you give everything away and you get better, you can take it back. But if you give only part of it away and you get better, you cannot take it back. That's if you didn't say anything before. It's not of context. He's on his deathbed, but so what? So he's on his deathbed, he wants to give a gift. If he kept some for himself, we assume he wanted to keep it. But if he says before, oh, I'm so sad, I'm dying, I will give you this partial gift, by saying that before, he's linking the two statements, saying, I'm only giving you this partial gift because I thought I was dying. And so therefore, even though she kept part of it, and even though they did a kinyan, still, she can take the land back. And so Rav Nachman rules in her favor. Itemar, Matanat Shechi Mera b'miksat. Now we have a statement of Amoraim about someone who is on his deathbed and he gives only a partial gift. He doesn't give everything away, keeps some for himself. Amaru Rabbanan kamed Rava Mishme de Morzutra bered Rav Nachman de Amar Mishme de Rav Nachman. The rabbis reported in front of Rava, so Rava was their teacher, and they reported to him the following halacha in the name of Morzutra, the son of Rav Nachman, who said this in the name of Rav Nachman. So there's a bunch of rabbis here that are reporting the following to Rava in the name of Rav Nachman. And they said, Harehi kematenat bari, varei kematenat shechiv mera. When someone who is on his deathbed and gives part of his property away, that gift has some aspects that's similar to a healthy person making a gift, and in some ways is similar to someone on his deathbed making a gift. How so? Harehi kematenat matanat bari, shim amad eno chozer. Varehi kematanat shechimera, dela ba'aya kinyan. It's like the gift of a healthy person in that if he gets better, he cannot retract. So this guy's on his deathbed, and if he gets better, he cannot retract. Just like a healthy person who gives a gift cannot come back later and say, oh, I changed my mind, I want it back. Once you gave it away, that's it, it's gone. So you cannot take such a thing back, which is consistent with what I said before. As if it's a total gift, then if he gets better, then he can get it back when he gave it on his deathbed. But if it's a partial gift, he cannot take it back. On the other hand, it also is similar to the gift of someone who's a shchimera, in that you don't have to do an acquisition. Someone on his deathbed who's giving everything away, he just says so, and that's it, it goes. And so too, if he gives some of his property away, as long as he just says so, and then he dies, then that is given. That's a valid gift, even though they did not do a formal act of transaction like a kinyan chalipin. So that's what they said to Rava. Amar lehu Rava, lav amina lechu, la titelu buke sirike berav Nachman. Rava told these students who were telling him this report in the name of Nachman, says, I already told you, do not hang empty bottles upon Rav Nachman. In other words, don't take statements that Rav Nachman didn't really say, and now because you want to give them extra authority, you attach them and say Rav Nachman said this. It's not true. Rav Nachman did not say this. You have to be more accurate in your reporting. Hachi amar Rav Nachman, harehi kematanat bari ubaya kinyan. He actually said the opposite, that it's like a gift of a healthy person in all ways, and you require a kinyan. So therefore, if someone on his deathbed, even though he's on his deathbed, and whatever, even someone on his deathbed could be talking about different things, and is not necessarily only talking about things that are going to happen only because they're dying. And so therefore, even though he's on his deathbed, because he's only making a partial gift, we treat that in all ways as if it's a gift of a healthy person, so that he cannot change his mind if he gets better, and you have to do a kinyan, which means if he's on his deathbed and he says, I'm going to just give away just half of my property, and then he dies, and he doesn't make a kinyan, he only said so, that property does not go to that recipient. Instead, it will go to the estate and go to the heirs automatically, whoever the heirs are. Because you have to make a kinyan if you're only giving something partially away. If someone's giving something away because he's dying, because he's really dying, then he would give everything away. And therefore, if he wants to keep a part for himself, he has to make a kinyan as well. Now, Rava just reported the correct version of Rav Nachman, but now Rava is is challenging that very statement that Rav Nachman said, the real statement that he said that you need a kinyan. He's challenging that against Rav Nachman from the following Mishnah: Shied karka koshu matanato kayemet, my lav de la kanu mine. The Mishnah taught that if someone on his deathbed gave only part of his land away and kept part of it and then gets better, then the gift is a final gift. And even though he got better, he cannot take it back. So what did they do a transaction or not? Is it not that a case where they did not make a transaction? And even though he didn't make a formal transaction, nevertheless the gift is valid. That's a challenge against Rav Nachman, who said that someone even on his deathbed, who gives away part of his property, has to make a kinyan. So Rav Nachman answers, "La de kanumine." Now the Mishnah is talking about a case where he did do. He made a kinyan. He's on his deathbed. He gave something away, and he did make a kinyan. Okay, Rava challenges. If so, look at the rest of the Mishnah, and it should be consistent. The whole Mishnah should be talking about the same case. And the rest of the Mishnah says, "Lo shi'ed karka koshu." If the guy on his deathbed did not leave any for himself, he gave away everything, and then he got better, and matinato kayemet, then his gift is not a valid gift, and he can take it back. Now, if he made a transaction, and you just said, yes, he made a transaction. So if in fact he made a transaction, then how come it's not a valid gift, right? He's on his deathbed, and he gave something, or he gave everything away, but he made a transaction. So they did a kinyan, a chalipin, a deed, or whatever they did. However, they made the transaction. So then how could he take it back if they actually made a transaction? Amar lehachi amar Shemuel, Rav Nachman says, I have a tradition from Shemuel. Shekatav kol nechasav lacherim, af al pi shekanu miyado, omed vechozer, beyado shelo haya mesaveh, elach mechamat mita. Someone on his deathbed that writes that all of his property should go to others, even if he makes a formal transaction and then he gets better, he can take it back, because it's known that he only gave everything away because he was going to die. So it's like he's giving it on condition. So even if he makes a transaction, but he's adding a condition, I'm giving this to you on condition that I die. Even though he doesn't say that condition explicitly, if he's on his deathbed and he's giving everything away, well, then it's obvious that his meaning is that he only wants to give everything away if he in fact dies, and that's so he can take it back, even though he made a transaction. And now Rav Meshashia is going to challenge Rava, and Rava now has to defend Rav Nachman, which is really interesting because just now Rava was challenging it, and now he's called upon to defend it, which shows that the sages would defend both sides, depending on the day and who was in discussion. It was like debating team. And so here now he's defending Rav Nachman. Ma'aseh be'iman shel bnei rochel shayta chola v'amra tinaten kebenati lebiti. There's a story about the mother of the sons of Rochel. Rochel was the name of a man. And so his son's mother, I guess his wife or his ex-wife, and she was sick on her deathbed, and she said, "I want to give this brooch, this jewelry to my daughter." Vehu b'shnem asar maneh. Now it was valued at 1,200 dinars, so a nice expensive piece of jewelry. Umeta v'kimu debareha. She died, and the rabbis gave it to the daughter. So how could that be? We're assuming right now that she had other property. She didn't have only this one brooch, and so this is a partial gift, and she just said with words that it should go to her daughter. She did not make any formal transaction, and yet they gave it to her. According to Rav Nachman, you have to make a formal transaction when you're giving only a partial gift. So why did they give it to her if there was no transaction? And the answer is Hatam b'misaveh mechamat mita. That's the case where she said her directives precisely because of death. In other words, even on a deathbed, there's two different stages. Someone's just sitting on the deathbed and they're still chatting. They're talking about sports and they're talking about family and whatever they're talking about. And someone says, "I'm going to give just part of my estate away." Then maybe he just wants to give a gift. But if she's actually talking about the imminent death, and she says, "Oh, I'm going to die, I'm so sad I'm going to die, I'm going to give you this brooch," well then it's clear, even though she's only giving part of her property away, it's clear that she's doing it only because of death. So in other words, it's really about intention, and all this really makes sense. If someone is on their deathbed and they give part of something away, but it's not clear, they're not talking about death at that point, then we assume that it's just a gift, it's a total gift, and so you have to make a kinyan. However, if someone is on their deathbed and they give a partial gift, and they are talking about death, even though it's only a partial gift, was like, well, how come you're only giving part of it away? But they're talking about, "Oh, I'm going to die," then you don't have to make a kinyan, because surely it's only because they're making a kinyan, only because they're going to die, and therefore it works even without making a kinyan. And if someone's on a deathbed and they give everything away, even if they're not talking about death at that point, if it's giving everything away, it's clear that they only want that to happen because they are giving away everything away. And therefore that also works without a kinyan, and if the person gets better, in that case they could take it back. So all this makes sense. Okay, one last question. Itibet Rabina leRava. Ha-omer tenu get ze l'ishti, ushta shichrur ze l'abdi. לא ייתנו לאחר מיתה. תנו מנה לפלוני ומת, ייתנו לאחר מיתה. We have a Mishnah Masechet Gitin that says, if someone says, "Give this get to my wife," or "Give this bill of manumission to my slave," and he dies before the messenger gets a chance to actually deliver it, then it should not be delivered after death, because en get lachar mita, you cannot divorce someone after death. It doesn't work. A live person has to give a divorce, and so we do not follow through. We cannot follow through with his wishes. However, when he says to his messenger, "Give this money to this person," and he dies, even though he didn't do it yet, we still give it afterwards. This proves that when you're giving something, we're assuming that this 100 dinar that he has is not everything that he owned. It's just a partial gift. And so if so, here he's only saying a statement. He didn't do any formal transaction. He just says, I want you to give this partial gift to someone after I die. And right now we're assuming that he did not make a formal transaction, and yet we go through with it. So this is a challenge to Rav Nachman's ruling, and Rava has to defend Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman says if it's a partial gift, even though it's on his deathbed, then you have to make a kinyan. And here it's a partial gift on his deathbed, but there's no kinyan, and yet they say go through with it. Why? So we ask, or answer, how do you know they didn't make a formal transaction? Maybe they did make a transaction. And so Ravina answers, Dumia de get, maget lav bar kinyan, afhai name de la kane mine. Because look, we're going to read all the cases together. It's the same thing as a get that he's sending to his wife. A get is not something that you can make a kinyan on. It's impossible to make a kinyan on behalf of somebody else. Unless she has, either the woman has to be there, or the woman can send a shaliach lekabbalah. But that didn't happen in this case, and so there's no way to effectuate a transaction without the woman or her messenger present. And so therefore there's no kinyan regarding the get. Now therefore we can assume that regarding the money also did not make a kinyan. Technically with money you can make a kinyan without the person there, because zachin la'adam shelo b'fanav. So really the guy could have said, here, accept this on behalf of that other person, and he picks up the money, the messenger picks up the money. That would be a kinyan. But it's evident here that they did not make a kinyan, because we're comparing the cases, and we're saying they're all talking about in the same instance, and therefore just like the get is where they did not make a kinyan because they couldn't have, so too with the money they did not make a kinyan. So here you have a partial gift without a kinyan, and yet is considered a gift. So that's a challenge to Rav Nachman. And the answer is hatam nameh b'misaveh mechamat mita. Same answer as we said before. That's talking about a case where the person, this guy was saying, I'm going to die, I'm so sad. Give this $100 to so and so. So because he's involved in talking about his imminent death, that's why we know that he's for sure giving it because of his death, and so therefore he does. In that case, he does not have to make a kinyan. It will be the same as if he gave everything away. Rav Huna bered Rav Yoshua Amar mesaveh mechamat mita be'alma ba'aya kinyan v'chi tanya hane matniyata b'mechalek kol nechasav tahib matnat shechib mera shavyuha. Rav Huna, the son of Rav Yoshua, disagrees with Rav Nachman's ruling. And he says that someone who gives a directive because he's going to die, in general, requires a kinyan. In other words, even though he's about to die and he's talking about death, still, you have to do a kinyan. Now, what about in these cases where we prove that they did not do a kinyan in these last two cases? In these Mishnayot, it was actually talking about someone who gives away everything. That woman who gave away her brooch, that's all she owned. This guy who's giving away 100 dinar, that's everything that he owns. And therefore, that would be a gift of someone on his deathbed, and the gift of someone on his deathbed does not require a kinyan. That explains those cases. But if in fact it was giving away a partial gift, then you would have to make a kinyan, even if he was talking about death at that very time. And now the final halacha, summarizing everything above. The halacha is, as Rav Nachman said above, that someone on his deathbed, but he is only giving part of his money away, well then he has to make a kinyan. He has the same law as a healthy person, because since he's only giving part of it away, so it's not because he's going to die, so he doesn't have the special law of a shchimera that we follow just his words. Since he's only giving part of something away, he has to make a kinyan. And even if he ends up dying, nevertheless, that which he said, we don't follow through with it. When he's on his deathbed, and whatever. They're talking about sports and family and food and whatever. And he says, I want to give half of my field to that person. And then he dies. We don't give it, right? Because it was only half of a field, and so he has to make a kinyan like everybody else. He doesn't get the special law of a shchimera whose words take effect. However, misaveh mechamat mita la baya kinyan v'hu demet. If he's talking about death at that time, he's saying, "Oh, I'm so sad that I'm going to die," and he gives away a partial, and he says, "I'm going to give half of this field to someone," and he dies. Then that is a valid gift. He doesn't need a kinyan, because then it's evident that he's really doing it because he's about to die. So then he does get the special law of a shchimera, just like a shchimera who gives everything away at any time, even if he's not talking about death. Since he's giving everything away, that itself makes it evident that he's talking about if he dies. Amad hozer v'afal gav dekanu mineh. Now this person who made a partial gift, if he gets better, he can take it back. Even if they made a kinyan, he can still take it back. Because since they were talking about death, so it's evident that he only wanted to give away this partial item if he died. So if he gets better, then he can take it back. Baruch Adonai Le'olam. Amen ve'amen.